I received quite an unusual invitation today. It was for a peculiar event being held at Lord Bentley's residence tomorrow evening. A mummy unwrapping. Eager and curious as to what Lord Bentley had in store, I quickly wrapped up any prior engagements, boarded a carriage, and proceeded straight to his manor, to which upon my arrival I was greeted by my most gracious and delighted host. "Frederick, my dear boy, please come in. I've been expecting you. Allow me to take your coat," Lord Bentley said as he greeted me. "Thank you for your kindness," I replied. "I cannot stay long. I have some business to attend to later this afternoon, but I will be returning tomorrow evening for your most unusual affair. So it is that my curiosity has gotten the better of me, and I could not wait another day to find out what this occasion is all about." "Ah, yes. It is a most exciting event, my boy," Lord Bentley enthusiastically stated. "Daddy, who's at the door?" a woman's voice cried out as she approached. "Frederick, you remember my daughter Eleanor?" "But of course, how could I forget such a beauty?" I said as I took her hand and kissed it. "Oh, Frederick, you have such a way with words," she said, blushing. "You look ravishing as ever, Eleanor. Your time away has done you wonders." "Frederick, you're such a flirt. Be warned, I may marry you one day if you're not careful," Eleanor said with a playful smirk on her face. Her father broke in with a subtle cough. "Forgive me, Eleanor. Perhaps we can continue our conversation later." "Perhaps," she replied pleasantly as she flitted away up the stairs. "Ha! Be mindful, old boy. She means business," Lord Bentley said with a hearty laugh as he patted me on the back. "Indeed! Ha! Now, Lord Bentley, I thought you were abroad in Egypt and not due to return for another month. When did you arrive?" I asked him. "Now, please call me Reginald. I've known you long enough so we can drop the formalities." "We returned nearly a week ago, but that is neither here nor there. What is important is what I brought back with us," Lord Bentley stated as he turned and began to walk away. "Do tell," I said. "Now, follow me, there is much to discuss," he said excitedly as he led me from the foyer down the hall to his study. We stood in the front of the door as he pulled out his keys and unlocked it. He then turned towards me and said, "Prepare yourself, Frederick. What you're about to see has not been seen by anyone, but for a few in 3,000 years. He then turned and slowly opened the door. He went in, lit several gas lamps and candles, came back and waved his hand, beckoning me to enter. Come, my boy, don't be sheepish." As I crossed the threshold, I froze in amazement. "My God!" uttered shockingly from my lips. Before my eyes was a rather large golden statue. The light from the lamps glimmered and danced across its smooth surface. The figure was of a man with an animal's head, bending over a highly decorated coffin that lies on a bed accented by a lion's head and legs. The entire piece was laden with gold and precious gems. Its value must be priceless. I continued into the room to see a case with 4 jars sitting upon it, all bearing golden heads, and each one different from the next. On the floor, another statue of what I imagined to be a god, sitting in judgment, made of black onyx and gold. Also, a gold throne sat in the corner, darkened by time with an embossed back and finely carved breasts, decorating each arm. And in the middle of the room, a large and neatly carved coffin. There were also various texts, scrolls and pictures scattered about here and there on a table. Again I was taken aback by what was on display before me. "I say, I am astounded." "As well you should be, my boy. What you are looking at are some of the funerary items of what I believe may just be a long-lost Egyptian king," Lord Bentley proclaimed. "But how?" I asked. "How did I procure them?" he replied. "It is quite surprising, really. We were on the last leg of the expedition. I had but given up all hope on making a discovery when we stumbled upon an oasis northeast of Luxor. It was there where we saw 2 large pillars hidden amongst a nest of palm trees and overgrowth. Upon further investigation, we found an entrance that led to the tomb in a near-perfect state. but oddly enough, it seemed to be quite out of place, as if outcast from the other pharaohs. How did you retrieve the goods? Not only are they quite large, but quite heavy, I'm sure, I noted. I see. Well, we were actually quite close to the Nile River, so we merely brought them up on barges to Cairo, then by train to Alexandria. Please allow me to clarify, I said. How did you acquire the objects? Are there not certain laws about removing such historical items? I asked. Ah, yes. I had to do some intense negotiations, persuade the proper officials that what we were doing was in fact for scientific study, and of course reveal the location of our find. I also had to leave many items behind for their own scientists to study and remove to a more secure location. But as this is an unknown king, or what I am led to believe, I was able to take these items on my oath and a rather hefty fee of several £1,000s, on a promise to reveal and share my findings after further study. Also, I was given 48 hours to remove the items before the Egyptian authorities moved in, which is the reason for our early return, Lord Bentley stated. Well, that is interesting. You appear to be quite the negotiator. Indeed I am, my boy, Lord Bentley said proudly. Now, enough of the small talk. Please take a moment to examine the items, and I will answer any inquiries to the best of my knowledge. I also have a few slides from the trip that I will show you. Give me a moment to set up the magic lantern. As he went off to prepare the slideshow, I began examining the items in his collection. Again, the attention to detail was outstanding. Finally, I sauntered over to the table where various papers and scrolls lay. What is this most peculiar scroll? I inquired. Lord Bentley looked back and stated, Ah, that one. They call it the Book of the Dead. It contains many spells to protect the deceased on his journey through the underworld. The images depict the trials the soul must go through. There we go. We're all set up. I apologize for taking so long, but this contraption is a nuisance. That is quite all right. I could look at your finds all day. They are quite beautiful and mesmerizing. But before you show the slides, would you please take a moment to explain the items to me? And I must ask, is there a mummy in the coffin? Of course. Where are my manners? And to answer your last question, yes, there is indeed a mummy in that coffin, and we shall be revealing him tomorrow night. Now, on to the items, Lord Bentley said with enthusiasm. Here we have a beautiful gold statue of Anubis, leaning over the pharaoh, preparing his soul for his trial before the gods. It is decorated in beautiful bright colours and jewels. These canopic jars, as they are called, contain the viscera of their owner for the afterlife. They are removed and stored as organs but the heart in these during the mummification process. Each one includes a different organ. They are carved limestone with gold lids depicting the four sons of Horus, the sky god. Hapi, the baboon, which contains the lungs. Imsiti, the human, wherein lies the liver. Duamatif, the jackal, consists of the stomach. Quebesinif, the falcon, is where the intestines reside. They were orientated in compass points, north, south, east and west. Finally, down here on the floor we have a statue of Osiris, the god of fertility, agriculture, life, death and resurrection. He was also the judge of the dead, and more importantly, the god of the underworld. A very intriguing fellow. Lord Bentley then walks towards the throne. This is obviously a golden throne. Have you ever seen such an exquisite item? On the table, as you have seen, the Book of the Dead, or as it translates, Book of Coming Forth by Day, or Book of Emerging Forth into the Light, and various texts and spells. And of course, we have the coffin carved of stone called a suet. I am awestruck by everything, I commented. How do we find out who resides in the coffin? Firstly, his name should be written on the lid by his feet. But unfortunately, his name has been crossed out. I'm uncertain if it's from a malicious deed or from some other catastrophe. There was some damage in the burial chamber, more than likely from a natural event, Lord Bentley informed. And is there another way to identify the body? I inquired. Yes, Lord Bentley replied. We must unwrap the mummy. Under the wrappings, near its heart, there should be a prayer tablet with the owner's name written upon it. I see. Fascinating. Let me show you this very perplexing slide, Lord Bentley interjected, as he lit the small oil lamp inside the magic lantern. He then proceeded to close the curtains and made his way to the image projected upon the wall. The picture was taken within the burial chamber inside the tomb. Egyptians did not believe in the physical body being resurrected like Catholicism. Instead, they believed the soul would live on if judged it had lived a good or moral life. If not, the soul would be eaten by a fearsome beast called Ammit, the Devourer. Now, back to the image. If you notice the man with wings in the coffin, I believe this represents the soul of the inhabitant. From what I can read of the hieroglyphs, it translates to the soul revisiting the body. This is quite unusual. And there is a resurrection prayer in the collection of spells that we found inside the tomb. But what is most confounding, the prayer is also carved into the coffin. What could it mean? I asked curiously. I am not sure, to be honest. We must compare the prayer to the script on the wall to get a better understanding, Lord Bentley said as he walked over to the table, picked up a paper, and held it into the projection light. Ah, let me see. To awaken the body and return the soul, recite the sacred words. Death is but a doorway to new life. We live today, we shall live again. With this prayer I shall return. Very interesting. The prayer is altered from the standard version. The final stanza should be, in many forms we shall return, Lord Bentley pointed out. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the door burst open. We both gasped. Daddy, will Frederick be staying for lunch? Eleanor asked as she stormed into the room. We both let out a sigh of relief and chuckled. Eleanor, would you please knock before entering a room? You nearly scared us half to death, Lord Bentley chided. I'm sorry, Daddy, she replied remorsefully. I do have some prior obligations this afternoon, so I must decline. I should be leaving shortly. Thank you for the kind offer, I replied. Oh, but you must stay, Eleanor pleaded. It's been so long since we've spoken, and I cannot listen to any more stories about Egypt. Now, Eleanor, don't nag the poor boy to death, Lord Bentley said jokingly. It's quite all right. I think I can afford the time for some nourishment, I said, smiling. Yay, she chimed in, clapping her hands, then ran off. She's quite excitable, I said to Lord Bentley. You have no idea, he replied back. We enjoyed a delightful lunch and some tea. Afterward, we strolled slowly back to the study, when out of nowhere we heard a crash. We all rushed back to the library to find the coffin lid lying on the floor. My heavens, Lord Bentley shouted. A snake slithered out of the coffin and fell like tears onto the carpet below. Who is responsible for this blasphemous behaviour? Lord Bentley questioned. I rushed in to open the curtains when I heard Eleanor scream. Daddy, look out! I turned to see a hideous creature lunge towards Lord Bentley, knocking him to the ground. I quickly ran to his aid, kicking snakes out of the way, then striking the creature to no effect. It swung its arm and sent me crashing into the table. The scrolls and drawings fell quickly, along with my body. Lord Bentley came to my aid as the creature lumbered its way around the room, looking at its funerary items, and finding its throne, sat down. Are you all right? Lord Bentley asked as he aided me to my feet. Yes, I nodded. Eleanor, he shouted. Get out! Close the door and lock it. I shan't leave you here with that thing, she cried out. We'll be fine. Now just do as you're told. Get out and close the door, he hollered back. Yes, Father, please take care. I love you both. She pleaded, then screamed as the snake slithered towards her. She then slammed the door, turning the latch to lock it tight. I looked at him and asked, What is it, and what are we going to do? I believe it's the mummy, and as strange as this sounds, we must have brought him back to life when we read the prayer. Well, what do we do? I asked. Can you distract him while I try to find a resolution in these papers? Lord Bentley inquired. Yes, I believe so. While he was able to knock me over by using his arm like a club, he does not appear to be very strong or agile, I replied in confidence. Very well, good luck, my boy, and I shall make haste with these papers. I bravely approached the creature, it unleashed a fierce growl. I looked back at Lord Bentley and asked, "What do I do?" He said, "Try bowing, as it was customary to bow before a king." So I bowed and asked the creature what it wanted. As if it could understand me, it rose from the throne and growled again. Perhaps it is confused and frustrated. From my observation, it appears it does not recognize my language, nor does it seem to speak appropriately. It began creeping towards me and raised its arms. I started to slowly back away whilst avoiding stepping on any snakes. "Lord Bentley!" I cried out. It then leapt at me and we struggled. Finally, I was able to push it away and I scrambled to find something to keep it at bay. I grabbed a candle and threw it at him. He instantly burst into flames. The creature howled and writhed as the flames quickly subdued him until he was nothing more than a mere pile of ash. The snakes had disappeared and calm was then restored. "I've got it!" Lord Bentley cried out, and he came rushing to my side. "Fire! Fire will—" "Oh, I see you've dispatched him. Well, that was rather unexpected," he said with a look of bemusement. "Well, it looks like I must cancel my engagement for tomorrow evening. Care for some tea?"